Welcome to YG Roundtable, built by Max Weiss and sponsored by Health Payment Systems. I'm your host, Jamar Jones, owner of Forever Media. On YG Roundtable, we bring together masters of the craft to share their secrets of their success. Today we'll be discussing defining moments. What is a defining moment, and how do we recognize it? Let's meet the guests.
Yo, you know who it is and what it is. It's your guy Promise, host of the Morning Grind with Promise on Hot 105.7. Also on the board of directors for the New State, a nonprofit in the Milwaukee area. Appreciate you vibing out with me, and you already know it's not a threat, it's a promise. Yiddy.
Hi there, my name is Nighbor. I'm the founder of Empower 8, a mastermind company. I facilitate business-to-business sales professionals, and I help lead mastermind groups throughout the country.
Max Weiss is a company that does it right the first time. A company that sets the curve in excellence. Rolled, curved, formed, forged, fabricated. A company that delivers on time. A company that drives innovation forward. A company that has satisfied customers for over 75 years. Anything metal, Max Weiss Company. Call or visit us online to learn more about Max Weiss Company.
For more than 80% of families, today's medical billing practices are confusing. At HPS, our goal is to improve the healthcare experience for the patient by making medical bill payments less stressful. In Wisconsin, that's all made possible by our comprehensive independent healthcare provider network. We simplify billing and lower costs for everyone involved in healthcare and offer various ways for individuals to pay without breaking the bank.
What's going on? This is Jamar Jones with Forever Media, and today we got another special episode of YG TV Roundtable with some awesome guests, Nick and Promise, which have had amazing stories as they've grown from where they came from to where they're at now. So we're gonna be talking about defining moments in someone's life, and I really want this to resonate with the viewers as someone seeing, how do I get to my defining moment? Maybe you've had it, and where do I go next? What were the catalysts? What were some of the moments between that defining moment that actually made it happen? We really want to dig into the story about that and really just have a conversation. So I'm just going to kick it off right away to define to me what a defining moment is.
That's...
In your perspective.
Yeah.
That's why, because it could be different for everyone.
Yeah, I would say it could be different for different people. It's almost kind of like an epiphany, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay. You can have it, some people have multiple ones, some people have one that kind of defines everything. You may have multiple defining moments. I think it depends on where you kind of are in life. When you're younger, you're trying to really figure things out. You don't necessarily know everything. So I think initially for me, when I was a teenager, just not really caring that much about my education, not really valuing who I was, not really understanding my potential, and just kind of skipping school, not really caring about anything. And then one day it kind of hit me when I was probably a sophomore. I woke up on my aunt's couch. I was skipping school and I had a panic attack. And I had no idea what that was. I didn't know what I was feeling, but it was like a wave or something went over me. And I just realized, like, yo, man, you're gonna be a failure. Like, you have no ambition, you have no drive, like at a certain point.
And this just hits you.
Yeah, I'm like 15, 16 years old, sleep on the couch, and I wake up and I'm skipping school. It was a routine. Like I was skipping school crazy at that time, and I remember it just hitting me like, it's like the cliche thing, like my life kind of flashed, and I'm just like, dude, like you have no education. Like you don't have a job, you don't have any money, you don't have any skill set. You have ideas and dreams, but you're not doing anything to put them into play. So at the end of the day, I'm like, yo, you're gonna be a failure, bro. If you don't do something different, this is a wrap. Like nobody can make you do anything, it's up to you. My mother was at her wit's end. I mean, she could try to make me go to school, but again, when she goes to work or I could do what I wanted to do. So
Right,
it's like
right.
at that point, it's like my mother can only make me do so much. My family can only want me to do so much. It's either gonna come from within or it's not gonna happen. So I had my first, I would say, defining moment as a sophomore in high school. A panic attack basically forced me to reconstruct my thought process and try to be a better version of myself. at that age.
Crazy. Well, we're gonna get into that story a little bit. What about you, Nick? How do you define a defining moment?
So when you say a defining moment, the first thing I think of is like a turning point. Whenever there's some kind of transition where it's like a realization or maybe someone's been made aware, like what you were talking about, Promise.
Yeah.
That was not a very good situation,
Right.
but probably a big blessing.
Yeah, a wake-up call.
That probably created a turning
Yeah.
point for you. I'm assuming that.
Absolutely.
So defining moment is probably a high level of awareness of what's going on right now, and just realizing, okay, something's probably got to change, and if nothing changes, then it's just going to be the same story.
Yeah. And what was it like for you? So like he talked about his kind of that panic attack and like just woke up basically one day and just had that realization. What was that like for you? Did you have just that same instinct of that, or was it something different for you?
No, it was something different. It was when I was in college. I took on like an internship selling books door to door, and I come from a really small town, like where everyone knows everybody, and I was pretty much just not thrust into a different state or a different city, but that's just the program. Like you're in college, you get through your finals, and you go through the sales training, and then hey, you're going to this city in this state, and you got to find a family to live with. Knocking door to door sales is really what the job was.
Wow.
And 70 to 80 hours a week of work, and in a completely different environment that when you're in a small town and you know everyone and you're now in a completely different state in a different city. All right, am I gonna make it through this? Like, am I gonna be found successful, or am I just gonna quit?
Right.
So,
wow. Well, that's a lot of hours.
it is. Lots of good
Especially
stories.
door-to-door sales. It's like one of the most brutal sales that you get.
I did it for like 2 weeks, man. That's a tough job.
Did you quit?
Man, that's a whole nother story, man. They had me out here in some hard bottoms in the snow, man. I'm out there in a suit in the snow. I'm like, this ain't it, man. I didn't do this, man. Come on.
Well, yeah, that's crazy. So it seems like both of you have had these kind of pinnacle moments that have happened, but so there's multiple defining moments as you grow and you have that. So what would you say now? Like, I'm gonna do the classic question of what would you say to your younger self right now, or the position you're in right now? What would you say to your younger self at, let's say, 15?
Man,
Everything you learned.
yeah, I probably would try to tell him to have more initiative. I think a lot of young people in general, no matter what their background is, sometimes if they don't have the initiative to do something, they may need someone to kind of put a battery in their pack and kind of get them encouragement. But I learned that sometimes you have to have it from within. If you don't have the best surroundings, if you don't have the best support system, sometimes you got to pull that from within, and it can be difficult. And my problem was I kind of had both. I had half of a great support system and the other half it wasn't. So if I could talk to the younger me, I would have told me to take more initiative. Like, don't make excuses. Like, take school more serious. Like,
Right.
I didn't value my education as much as I should have. And the one thing I learned about education is that's something nobody could take from you. Somebody could take my clothes, somebody could take my jewelry, somebody could take my car, you could take my home. You could take a lot of things from me. You can't take anything that I have in here. You can't take anything I have in here. So I kind of missed the mark being young, not valuing that education and not realizing that if I would have applied myself more, I could have got to places maybe faster, or I could have been more well-rounded instead of going through some of the difficult things that I did go through. But at the same time, I'm appreciative of the steps that I went through, because if I didn't, it's like an alternate universe in a superhero movie, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Right,
It would
right.
have panned out something different.
Right.
So I'm kind of appreciative for everything that I did go through, even though I made a lot of foolish mistakes that I shouldn't have.
And do you think your 15-year-old self would listen to you right now? Do you think you actually would have listened?
One thing about the 15-year-old me, I didn't apply myself, but I never was stupid. So
Okay. So you would have been like,
he would listen. Now is
it'd
he
have been
going
some flash stuff like, I'm from the future.
Well, I'm trying to tell you. It's like a quantum leap. But he'll listen. Now, is he going to apply it? That's the issue. He would listen for sure. Like I didn't grow up being disrespectful or not listening and respecting people. But the problem is am I going to apply it?
Right.
You know, so he'd listen for sure. He'd sit there and be attentive. And then when you're done talking, he'll be like, yeah, all right, I'm about to watch BET and TV. Like he gonna go to somewhere else. So that's the problem. Like, would he actually apply it? But I believe I would listen.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Nick?
This is a really good question. I have 3 daughters.
Okay.
And I have teenagers. So you're
going through.
You're sort of like, I'm raising these.
You got to tell them something.
My wife and I are raising 3 daughters, and 2 of them are teenagers right now, and I'm giving them the wisdom that I've, like the different books and the people I've met, the experience I've had.
Yeah.
Hey, you should do this, this, and this, and they hear it, but do they apply it?
Yeah.
Do they apply it?
Right.
And I'm trying to think back. I don't know if I would have either, because I didn't read because they said I had to.
Yeah.
Now no one's telling me to read.
Yeah.
And guess what? Like, you're gonna fight me getting a book out of my book, right? Because right now I'm into 2 or 3 books, and I think it's because no one's telling me not to. Because I'm not being forced to. Like we're in high school, we were told you have to do this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So you almost want to be rebellious of that.
Yeah, almost.
And make your own decisions, your own
almost
path.
spiteful. Yeah, being spiteful.
Yeah. So what would you say though to that younger self? I know you have daughters, but what would you say to your younger self, just, for where you're at, and just one thought or one kind of principle that you want to leave with them?
I would just say, believe in yourself more.
Yeah. Believe in yourself more. So back then you didn't really believe that you could do the things that you're doing now?
Yeah, well, I mean, when you set out to do something you've never done before, you don't know until you can try.
Yeah.
And that sometimes makes us maybe a little apprehensive on going after something that we want to accomplish.
Right.
The
And
uncertainty.
I would have maybe acted more or made quicker decisions quicker had I known, you're worthy of a victory.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself, you can win.
Yeah, for sure. Talk about what's one of the biggest risks that you took to get to where you're at right now? Because you gotta take risks if you're gonna have defining moments. You can't play it safe.
No.
There's no way.
No, in the grand scheme of life, if you want to acquire something and you want to achieve something and you want to reach certain levels of heights, you have to take a certain level of risk. Now, everybody's level is different. You know, like it's, some people going into the casino.
Right.
That's a risk. Some people bungee jumping is a risk. You know what I'm saying? It varies. But for me, professionally, I think probably one of the biggest risks I took was, I don't know, this is time going so fast. Maybe about 5 years ago, maybe towards the end of 2015 into 2016. One of the biggest leaps that I did was, betting on myself. I was in a situation where I was working for a company part-time, and I had aspirations to have a full position, and I wanted to grow in that company. It felt like an athlete. I felt like I got drafted to a team, been there since I was a kid, learned a lot of things there, and had worked myself to the position where it's like, okay, I deserve to get a great opportunity. And after college, that opportunity didn't come. I'm working other jobs, still working there part-time because I really want to do media. I want to do radio. And the opportunity just doesn't present itself. So when I finally do get a shot, it happens, but it doesn't go exactly the way I want it to. And I'm in a situation where it's like, okay, either you can try to stick this out and see where this goes, or you can be realistic and realize that this is pretty much it. Like, the writing was on the wall. I knew that there really was nothing else to do there, but the part of me is like, I'm trying to hold on to something because it's like, you have this, personal connection. Like, well, I've been here since I was a kid and I want it to happen here, but I had to be real with myself and say it's not gonna happen. So I ended up leaving that job. It was part-time, and I just stayed working my full-time job. And while I was working my full-time job, I was doing finances, which has nothing to do with my lifestyle or my interests. So
finances?
At all. But again, I have to make a living, right? Like when you
Right.
pursuing dreams, you can't be stupid. Like I couldn't just say I'm just gonna not do nothing. But I'm working this 9 to 5 and I'm making some decent money. But my passion and my heart is still with being a communicator. It's still with wanting to do media.
Right.
So I'm working this gig and it's paying the bills. And then there's another opportunity to take a leap. And it wasn't anything for certain at all. It was a company called iHeartRadio. You may have heard of it. There was an opportunity to work for iHeart, but at the time, there was no guarantee. They didn't have a contract for me. They didn't have anything solidified. It's like, hey, there's a small opportunity where we're looking for somebody with your skill set.
Right.
We don't have any real guarantees. Would you be willing to come take this job? But FYI, like, keep your day job and all that. And I'm just like, nah, if I come over there, I gotta quit.
Yeah.
There's no way I can fully give you what you need from me if I'm working another job.
Right.
And my manager at the time, she's just like, well, who my would-be manager, she's like, hey, don't quit your day job, kid. Like, we want to give you a shot over here, but we don't have anything guaranteed. And I said, listen, if you offer me this opportunity, you got to take me as I am. And I'm going to quit that job. So
you had that belief in yourself. That's what he said. You had that belief in yourself.
Well, I had to. At that point in my life, I got a college degree.
And confidence too. I mean, to do
Yeah,
that.
but it's a level, like it's not being arrogant, but being aware of yourself, right? What I learned is that sometimes when you're self-aware, that makes other people feel insecure. I'm very aware of who I am, right? Regardless of what you may see of me, regardless of what you may think of me, I'm fully aware of who I am, what I'm capable of.
Right.
And if you give me an opportunity to prove that, I'll do it. But sometimes the opportunities don't present themselves, you have to create them. So I already knew, I sat and waited on the bench all those years of the other situation, and it never happened. This time I'm like, I'm going to create it. I can't wait, because what happens if I wait? So I'm like, I'm going to quit this full-time job and come there. And she's like, don't quit your job. The next time I come to work, I'm like, hey, I quit my job. And she's like, okay, well.
How long did you give that decision to quit your job?
Not much. I consulted my mother and Jesus. That's pretty much it.
Right.
Like, that's pretty much it.
I'm just saying, because I've talked to a lot of people, and what you did to others may seem like crazy.
Sure.
Sure. You're gonna leave up leave your security, your comfort, the thing that you have.
I mean,
right
I left benefits.
Benefits,
everything.
all that.
Yes.
All that for an opportunity, and they told you not to leave.
Yes.
And you still left.
And I still did it.
To have that opportunity presented to you.
Yes, because I looked
Huge
at it.
risk.
Because I looked at it like this. Okay, Promise, you went to school, you have a college degree. That was a blessing because in my life, if you look at my life, I wasn't even supposed to get to college.
Right.
I just told you I didn't even value myself as an education as a kid, didn't apply myself, was skipping school. So me getting to college was a blessing alone. Me graduating, that's a whole nother story. So the fact that I had the degree, I said to myself, I said, well, you already have a college degree, you know what it's like to work a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You're always going to be able to get a job. It might not be the job you want, but you're always going to be able to get a job.
Yeah.
But are you always going to be in a certain spot in life to pursue something or have a passion? That dies.
Yeah.
Time goes on. You're always going to work a job if you need to, but you won't always be in the same space in the mental mind frame to say, I want to go after something.
Yeah.
And one of my mentors who passed away, I asked him one time when I was frustrated, I said, hey man, like, do you pursue the dream or like do you play it safe and live the comfortable life? Like what do you do? And he's like, you always chase the dream, kid. He said, you don't have any children right now, you're not married, like you only are responsible for you. If you're gonna take the risk and do stuff, this is the time to do it now. Right. You're not putting anyone else in harm's way. He'd make jokes. He said, you can sleep in your car. Like he would make jokes, but it's like, you can, if this is what you want to do, this is the time to do it now. So I took that leap of faith and I quit that 9 to 5 with that security and all of that. And I said, I'm going to try to make this happen. And the blessing is sometimes you have to speak things into existence. I said to myself, without telling them, I said, I'm going to get a contract. They're telling me right now there's no contract. There's no full-time job. Forget full-time. I'm asking for a contract, right? I'm trying to get salary. Right. I know in my head, like, this is what I want. They're like, that's not here. There's no salary. There's no full-time. Like, there's nothing guaranteed here, sir. But you'll come here and work, you're 14, maybe 20 hours a week. You get the little check. Okay, cool. That's what you're saying. I'm telling myself that I've already paid the dues. And if I come in here and I show you what I can do, somehow, some way, somebody's going to create an opportunity for me.
Wow.
And the beauty of it is, fast forward, I got the contract and I was there full time. So,
all right, there's so many things I could unpack.
That's really good.
That's crazy. What about you, man? What about as far as what's the biggest risk that that you've taken.
As Promise was talking just a little bit about your story, there's no way I can top that because you just burned the
No,
ships.
man, you
just burned the ships. You're
Hey,
like,
you raising
Yeah.
you
Did
raising
you
a
not?
family. You raising a family.
Did
You
you not?
married. You got me beat already.
You have different responsibilities.
Yeah, you got.
I do, yeah. So I
It's
would.
not a competition. This is just let me know about what you got going on.
So I would say as you were telling that story, I've been in sales for probably 20 years.
Yeah.
And I spent 8 years in the military previous to that. And after the military, I got into the banking industry. So I
Thank you for your
worked
service.
for.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I worked for like the retail side of banking, managing different bank locations, and I just got fed up with just working in a box and just watching tellers and bankers,
Right.
count money. So I got presented an opportunity for an outside sales job, which is completely different from like a salary position. We're talking like full commission.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty crazy risk because you're going, like my wife, she stays home with our kids.
Okay.
And she did before. So it's not okay if this doesn't work,
Yeah.
then there's no income.
Yeah.
And since then I've worked for a couple different companies in the B2B side, the business to business industry.
Okay.
So that right there opened up the possibilities for a ton of relationships and
Right.
actually seeing what was possible.
Yeah. So what was that risk though about you leaving the banking industry going into the outside sales? Like, did you consciously make that decision, or what was that transition?
I just knew like the next 10, 15, 20 years weren't going to change. Like I would have been getting some bumps in pay probably every few years, but it was never based on performance. It was based on, okay, this title earns this amount of money,
Gotcha.
and that's it, right? And
So
then
you actually left. Mm-hmm. And then did you leave knowing that you had some type of position or role with the outside sales?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I transitioned.
But it's like mainly commission based.
Correct.
So you put that bet on yourself and.
Right.
Yeah.
But was leaving gratifying for you?
It was after probably not the first year or two,
Okay.
because I was still like, okay, I got to make this
Trying to
work.
figure it out. Yeah.
But now, like where I'm at now today, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful I made that decision.
Yeah.
Because I've met so many great people that I would have never met just
Staying where you
working in one location.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm out in the marketplace every single day, meeting new people, talking to different people every day.
Yeah.
How can I serve the people I meet? I wasn't able to do that
Yeah.
in a building.
Yeah, for sure. And is that your passion?
Working with business owners.
Just business owners, talking to different people, networking.
Yeah, I've really just been I met you for the first time.
Yeah.
Just recently.
Yeah, yeah.
At an event.
Yeah.
And working with business owners and finding out their story, learning about what got. These are the questions you're asking right now, Jamar. Is what was that defining moment? What was the risk that you take? I get to have those conversations with business owners every day.
on a regular basis.
Right.
Every day I get to have those, and knowing what's happened the last 18 to 24 months, they all have a story to share.
And that's valuable.
And if they're still
you know.
in business, then it's like, all right, what's that going to look like the next 12 to 24 months? And
Right.
it might not be able to something that I can maybe help with, but anyone that's in business or small business owner and they've made it through this last year or two,
Yeah.
Man, it's impressive.
that's impressive. And sometimes I just say hi and just congratulate them for getting through that.
Yeah. For real.
Rough.
2020 was a doozy.
Correct.
It was rough.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just want to talk really quick about challenges. So can you give me, either one of you guys, just give me, what was that biggest challenge that you had to overcome that you really felt like, I don't know if I can do this anymore? Because honestly, I feel like that is my definition of a defining moment. It's either that challenge that you overcame, but you definitely could have walked the other way, or you could have let that stop you, or it was like an opportunity that you just took, you just grabbed onto and said, hey, I'm gonna make the best out of this opportunity and I'm gonna turn it into something. So what's one, challenge that you're like I don't know, I don't know if I can really overcome this. I'm getting deep. I'm getting, Dr. Phil on you guys.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a specific challenge, Jamar, but I would say like the journey. Like earlier this year, I launched my mastermind company.
Yeah.
And again, this is something I've never done before. But I know that there's people that have been in my position in outside sales where they're not heard, they're not listened to, they're just not being treated how they should be.
Right.
So I decided to create a platform for them to be able to come together in a community and share what's going on.
Right.
So when you say the challenge, I would say like the last 7 or 8 months, like out of the 7 or 8 different mastermind groups that I've launched, every single one has been different. but I've learned so much on each and every one.
Yeah.
And there's challenge with, I would say, I don't really have an expectation for people to show up because we're all emotional creatures. Life's always happening.
Oh, yeah.
So the best thing that I
always.
can do is just, all right, how can I serve someone the best? So maybe the challenge is, what's the best way that I can provide value to the people that have decided to come into my community?
Okay.
Where I can link them up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if it's so much of a challenge other than just really enjoying the journey, because it doesn't happen just like that.
Yeah. I think that's probably the underlying, piece of the challenge, and that at least that I'm connecting with is the journey of, challenging yourself to say, I can actually do these other things, these new things that you're creating and that you're evolving, but enjoying that journey as you go and not always thinking about the destination and not always saying like, okay, I need to be here, and you're constantly striving, but you're also enjoying the path that you're creating to get there.
Yeah.
Did you think about anything?
Yeah, it's. I would say you said biggest challenge, right?
Biggest challenge?
I would say it's kind of two things. The first biggest challenge I probably had to overcome in my young adult life was once I was in college. Once I got there, that was half the battle. But trying to actually complete it and get through it, and dealing with the financial aspect of it, and dealing with the adjustment of it. And when I was able to not only get out, but to be able to do something that not many people in my family had done. So it's easy when you have something to look at or something to reference to kind of give you some help. But when you don't have, but when you don't have many people who can talk to you and say, this is what this would be, like saying what you were saying with starting that business. If you don't have the experience, you don't have necessarily the people to pull from, that can be a challenge in itself. So for me to get through college and not have had many other people I can talk to about, hey, what was this like? Or you graduated college, to be able to be one of the first people in my family to do that, that was impressive to me. And then early this year, to be able to be recognized by my alma mater as graduate of the last decade. So to be a guy who barely even got to college, who struggled to get through school financially and academically, and then to make it and then be recognized by the school and invited back and say, hey, you're the graduate of the last decade. That was gratifying, because I don't do anything for attention or accolades or praise, but it's nice when the icing on the cake is somebody saying, hey, we see you. You want to put in the work regardless, but when somebody sees you, it's even more gratifying. And then I would say that the biggest challenge from there was 2020, like he alluded to. 2020 was a hell of a year for everybody in different ways. And for me,
I was thinking you're going to bring that up, because for you,
for me, it was very difficult, because before the pandemic, I get laid off right going into the pandemic. Everybody had to go through something last year, but I got hit with 2 punches. I got punched on the right side. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna recover. I got punched on the left side. So getting laid off into COVID was extremely difficult. I had already alluded to what I did to get into the position at iHeart. Had worked hard, had bet on myself. It worked out. Get the contract, everything had been going well. You get laid off,
boom,
unexpectedly.
Another challenge.
Right, and I'm like, whoa. So that was like, okay, I have to figure this out. COVID-19 happens. Okay, the world stops. So now there's almost a sense of uncertainty in general. What am I going to do career-wise? What's going to happen health-wise? What's going on in this country? What's going on in the world? So I kind of was, quarantine was beneficial at one point, but also was detrimental. I mean, being locked in the house, not having anything to look forward to, like it kind of mentally drained me. But once I got past the dark phase of being like, damn, the income is jeopardized, people are losing lives, I had to put myself in perspective and say, it's bigger than that. People are going through losing homes, people are losing family members. It's bigger than a job. Like, you can get another job, you can get another career. Certain things you can't replace. So I had to say, take this as a time to reflect and figure out what you want to do and who you are. You bet on yourself the first time. So if you weren't afraid to do that this time, whatever you do next, there's going to be an opportunity. So I looked at more opportunities to become an entrepreneur, to try different things. And again, another window opened right at the end of the year. I had put in enough work when I was at iHeart that enough eyes and ears had paid attention to me. I ended up having 3 offers at the end of 2020. So I was unemployed for 9 months, nothing going on the media market, whatever. End of the year, I have 3 offers from 3 different radio stations courting me to where I finally took the position with Intercom, which recently became Odyssey, and now I host a morning show. So, you know, last year was challenging, but at the same time, it helped me renew my faith, it helped me renew my confidence in myself, and to learn to be patient. Last year was a dark year for everybody, but I hope everybody got something out of it, because it was lessons to be learned in 2020. Whether it was learning how to do finances, whether it was learning how to be more patient, how to be more compassionate, how to have more conversations with people, be open about mental health. I learned a lot in that last year. So as difficult as it was for me to be unemployed in a pandemic, I came out, I think, even better on this side of it because of going through that.
Reflection.
Absolutely.
Reflection. I think that, like, the challenges, even both of you that you guys talked about, is that reflection of when you're approached with a challenge, afterwards, after you overcome the challenge, then it's that you have that reflection time. And through that, it's actually building you and growing you and making you better. You know, as you're, and now you start like this mastermind group, now you're probably thinking like, how can I get it bigger? How can I get to the next step? It's growth. It's constant growth, and looking back on that reflection and constantly fine tuning it. I think for myself, that I just want to, as you guys were talking, I was like, I at least want to share this one piece for myself, that I had many moments, I think, of defining moments, but I think that for the challenge that I remember, like my second year of business, and I was, heavily into, videography, constantly doing video shoots or going out onto events. And then all of a sudden, like, everything was kind of moving at a pace where I'm like, all right, everything is good. But then all of a sudden it became it was like winter had started. And I remember it was like November. And I had, I was buying equipment and I was just constantly like just growing through there. And then I didn't plan for the winter. So what happened is that November happened, and all of a sudden, boom, all work stopped. Because, around here, at least in Wisconsin, no one's really trying to do much in the winter. So, and a lot of my stuff was on the move, running gun shoots, especially with this guy, running and gunning, shooting, getting content, filming different events and stuff, and that stuff stops. It slows down dramatically. And I didn't plan for how the business was going to continue to grow revenue through that winter months. And I remember for like 4 months, man, it was ramen noodles. It was just like, I was behind severely on all bills. I was, bank account was negative thousands, because I had reinvested it right back into the business. I'm like, it's growing, it's doing some stuff. Let's keep it moving.
So this is like 10 months ago.
Huh?
This is like 10 months ago.
10 months ago? No. I've been in business now for 6 years.
6 years.
6 years, yeah. Okay. So this is like, year 2. And right at that time, I was like, after that, so fought through it, definitely had some people in my corner that helped me out through that. I'm not really one to make excuses or try to ask, for help, even though my parents are like, you need to ask for help. Right. You down on the ground, you need to ask for some help. So, that was a time period though but through that, as you were talking, like through that, after it became spring, finally, I'm like, finally people are outside, things are happening. I'm starting to get calls again. This is good. So, but that reflection through that, because I'm like, I'm never gonna have that happen again. Yeah. Ever. So like, I made sure. Then I got my mind thinking like, I need to offer more than just videography services, or more than just production services, because through that time, like at least in the space that I was in, I know that it was not something that I could really sustain all the time. So that reflection and that challenge really helped grow me, ultimately, doing the business. So that was a big turning point that I always look back to.
It
And
helped
I'm
you
like,
pivot.
yeah, and it helped me pivot as far as seeing what's most important. How do I get there? Okay, now I got new goals. How do I get to those new goals? And in perspective, now every time that, things kind of look a little different, I'm just kind of like, it's not going to be as bad as that winter
one, yeah.
where the heat was shut off and I'm freezing cold. And it wasn't a game. I mean, it was tough. So through that, it's a lot of reflection. But I think I want to, touch on, when we talk about defining moments, so let's say somebody's trying to search for that defining moment. Did you guys seek the defining moment for yourselves, or did it just happen through, hard work ethic, the constant grind, believing in yourself, what was that like for somebody else that's searching, watching this, like, man, I'm waiting for my time. I'm waiting for my defining moment that, I'm ready for the challenge. I'm built for this. How can somebody, find that defining moment to get them over that hurdle?
I think, again, it's different for everybody. Sometimes it's gonna happen, that's like a person saying like, oh, I'm looking for love. I don't even really believe in that. Like, you can't look for love. How? How can you? Like, you're not gonna be in a grocery store and it's gonna be with the avocados. Like,
you have a sign like this. I'm looking for love. Where that?
Right, you're not gonna be in the mall and it's gonna be in the window with a mannequin.
That's
so
funny.
those are those things where you can say it, but
Right.
it kind of has to happen, right? Things have to align for you to find love or to find passion, right? You can't just say, I'm waiting for my passion to hit me. It's not gonna happen like that. So I don't think you wake up and you say, I'm ready for my defining moment.
Yeah.
You may be ready for something, but what I learned in this whole journey of life is sometimes you want something before you're actually ready for it. Sometimes in life we want something before we're actually ready for it. You might not have gotten to a point where you want to get to in life because you weren't ready for it. You may not have been able to handle it. See, we all can say, this dude won the lotto. If I had that money, I'd do this with it. It's very easy to speak on something from someone else's perspective or just you casting your own thought. Yeah, but you may not have been ready for it mentally, physically, whatever it may be. So I would tell anybody who's listening or watching this, be patient. Don't be in a rush for anything. Like you said, the journey. So many people in life want to get out of the car and meet you at the destination. They don't want to be on the ride. They don't want to take the journey with you. They're like, hey, let me out.
Yeah.
And when we get there, you let me know I'm a GPS you. I'm gonna meet you.
I'm gonna meet you there.
People don't want to be in the car for the ride.
wanna go for the ride.
They don't. Or they go, I'm gonna catch a plane.
Yeah.
I'm gonna meet you there, and then you tell me about the drive when you get there. No, the beauty of it is the process, the journey. So I always tell people, embrace the struggle so you can enjoy success. I said it again. Embrace the struggle so you can enjoy the success. You being cold in that apartment, you're not gonna forget that. You taking that risk, you're not gonna forget that. Me being unemployed, I'm not gonna forget that. So you don't let those moments crumble you or kill you or derail you. You let them build character. And you say, I'm gonna embrace this. I'm going to live it. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to accept it. And I'm not gonna let it define me though. Speaking of a defining moment, it's not going to define you. Whatever hardships or whatever struggles you've gone through, they don't define you. It's just a part of you. It's not the defining final moment that says this is it. So to answer your question, that person is just going to have to keep living because we don't know when to define a moment. I didn't know as a 15, 16-year-old kid I was going to have an epiphany. I didn't even know what an epiphany was.
So you just had it.
You can't say like, I want it right now because it may not happen like that. You just have to keep living. And sometimes you may create your own defining moment. He decided to be a business owner. You decided to be a business owner. You guys help change your own destiny. Sometimes you can do it for yourself. Sometimes someone else has to do it for you. And assist you in that. So I think it just depends. You have to just keep living on. You gotta keep living life.
That's so true about if people want to meet you at the destination, because just the type of phone calls and texts and just messages, I know you can relate to this too, but just people are kind of like, oh, I see you doing some stuff now, Also, they want to come out the woodworks. They got stuff to say, and I'm like, where were you?
Well, everybody comes to Thanksgiving. Everybody comes to Thanksgiving dinner. But how many people go to the grocery store, buy the food, and cook it? Everybody comes to
Everybody
Thanksgiving
shows
dinner.
up ready to eat.
Everybody gonna
that's a good
eat.
point.
For real.
I'm guilty. I just show up.
You just show up.
You'll never find a lack of people willing to come eat, but you're always gonna find a strain on.
They got no candy yams on here.
Of
Come
course,
on now.
everybody wants to come and eat, but
Yeah.
there's not many people who will bring something to the table,
Yeah.
and there are not many people who are going to be willing to help you
They ain't bringing no food.
or stay after when it's time to clean up. Like I
Yeah.
said, everybody wants the glory.
That's such a
Everybody
good
wants the
analogy.
success.
It is.
But people don't always want to put the work in, and I'm the kind of guy. I'd rather be a part of something with you than
Yeah.
come take credit for
Yeah.
when it's already established. So if this guy was to say to me, like, hey, I want you to be a part of my establishment.
Yeah.
Okay, Nick, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
How can I help you? Even if I'm not the smartest guy in this area, I'm not the best person in this area, what skill sets do I have that I can help you? Most people in life want to take something from you, not give something to you. I'm the type of person I want to add value, no matter what our relationship is. If it's a friendship, if we're dating, if it's business, I want to add value to you. And that doesn't have to be monetary.
Right.
I want to add something to you. I don't want to take anything from you. And if we have more people thinking like that, we can be more progressive and we can all get to certain destinations and have defining moments. But too many people are willing to take and say, what can you do for me, or what can I get out of this? Or what you trying to do? Well, let me know when you make it.
Yeah.
Let me know when this TV show takes off, because I don't want to be on your show right now. Let me know when you get some money, and then I'll come back.
Right.
It's too much of that, and I think some people are missing their defining moments by trying to get.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to take you can't take shortcuts.
So
in
it
life.
showed up for them, but then they try to take a shortcut. They passed it. They,
Sure.
they didn't accept it, or they moved around it. Interesting. What do you think, Nick, is something that once you achieve that defining moment, what's some of the benefits afterwards? After you get to that defining moment, you took a couple of these things to transition from the banking to, even back when you're in the military. I'm sure you could talk a lot of different, defining moments about that. What's some of the benefits? What's some of the not really the accolades or that type of stuff, but what's some of the benefits that come from getting through that defining moment and building that character?
So I think moving forward, like owning a business,
Yeah.
we're all gonna make mistakes, correct?
Yeah.
But if we're
100%.
if we're aware of those mistakes,
Got a laundry list.
Exactly. I'm sure I'll be making some mistakes later. As soon as we make that mistake, we know what that mistake is, correct?
Yeah.
So if we learn from it, we're not going to do it ever again.
Right.
So those defining moments come with a lot of those challenges of those mistakes. So whether someone's had one defining moment or 5,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things learned.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if we're smart about it, we won't keep making those mistakes.
Yeah.
I've heard this, lesson learned, or lesson repeated until lesson learned. Someone keeps making the same, well, you haven't quite learned the lesson yet. Until you learn it, then that one's gonna go away, but guess what?
Yeah.
There's another one coming tomorrow. But the beauty is, like, once you get through these defining moments, you can look at the collective of look at all how I've grown.
Right.
I
The
think
wisdom of it.
The wisdom of it, and I don't know who shared this quote, but like when you're reading a book and you've learned something new, your brain will never go back to the original size after you've learned something. I don't know if you guys have heard that before, but there's some quote. I'm not sure.
Interesting.
I'm not sure someone who said it, but if we're learning something new every day, and okay, that was a really good point. You just taught me something, Jamar.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be making that mistake again,
Right,
correct?
right. You
Like
shouldn't
I'm
be.
only moving forward,
As long as it resonated.
and you can't, and you shouldn't be going back to that
Yeah,
unless you're
yeah.
allowing yourself to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So from like your question to promise of the defining moments and what can you maybe share with the audience? If someone keeps moving forward and they're okay making the mistakes, then that defining moment's going to come.
It's gonna happen.
As long as they keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Because some of my biggest lessons came from my biggest mistakes. And I'm thankful for them.
Yeah. And you're thankful for them. I know sometimes it's hard to admit that when you're in it.
Yeah. Oh, it's not fun.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, I shouldn't have done that. But I definitely think that the universe, constantly shows you things, and if you're not ready to accept them, it's just going to keep happening to you again and again and again until you're ready to overcome that, have that defining moment, and really, defeat that challenge and learn that lesson. then you can be, presented with the next thing. And a lot of people they feel like they're in that wheel, in that cycle, and they can't break it because they keep making the same mistake over and over and over again. They're not learning the lesson. So I think that's very important to keep trying on that path, be willing to take in those mistakes, but also add value. So you gotta add value. Don't be in here trying to take, because you're gonna constantly make mistakes left and right. Or you're like, why is nothing good happening for me? It's like, because you just want to take everything. You gotta provide value, in everything that you do. So I think so. Just as a wrap up, I want to wrap it up. We have been having a killer conversation here today. I think there's been a lot of gems that have been dropped. So I just wanted to ask you guys, from your perspective, what do you think is your next defining moment?
Man, I don't know. You just keep pulling them out that little hat. I don't know, but I will say this. Whatever it is, it might not even be for me. It might be for somebody else. Your hurt and your pain can help heal somebody else. So sometimes in life, we look at things as it's happening to us, but it may be you going through something to create a better path for somebody else. Like the mistakes, like he mentioned, the mistakes that I've made or the struggles that I've went through, I embrace them because I can help this other person watch out for the pitfall. If there's a hole in the middle of this floor and I've seen 5 people fall into this floor and I'm the 6th person, I'm either an idiot if I fall into the floor or I'm gonna walk around it or we're gonna build something over the hole. So for me, going through my defining moments is a way for me to now be a vessel for somebody else. I can now share something and it could be a person who's older than me. It could be somebody who's younger than me, somebody on the same level as me. You never stop learning, like Nick just said. So it could be me going through something where I can now share something with somebody and say, hey, listen, this is what I did to pivot from being unemployed, or this is what I dealt with when I was in school, or this is what I dealt with when I was younger and I didn't value myself. You should value yourself. You should appreciate things. You should not take things for granted. You should be patient, but also not waste time. So going through defining moments is another way to help somebody else even get to their moment or just figure out life. So I don't know what my next defining moment is. I know it's gonna have something to do with communication. I know it's gonna have something to do with interacting with people and impacting people. I ultimately don't even know what I don't know what my final form is. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what my final form is yet, or what I'm supposed to become, or who I'm supposed to be. But I know it has something to do with communicating. I know it has something to do with interacting and reaching people. And if I have to go through different things to help somebody else be a better version of themselves, then so be it. Because ultimately, I'm trying to grow and be the better version of myself as well.
Yeah. So giving back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely giving back. What about you, Nick?
You've been posting about this recently, about having a team around you, having relying on other people. So I would say my next defining moment is impacting more people through really key relationships. And what I mean by that is I facilitate these masterminds, but I can only do what I can do.
Right.
And until I have 3 or 5 or 10 people doing what I'm doing, then I'm limiting how many people I can impact.
The actual impact level,
So it's helping impact more people through others that want to do what I do.
And you think that will kind of bring forth the next defining moment for you?
Yeah.
When you sit there and you're like, I got 10 of these things going right now, and then now all these people are being impacted. Now it's not 10, it's 50 at a time.
Correct.
It's 100 at a time. It's
right.
For
and
sure.
that's impact.
Yeah, impact. Well, awesome, guys. This has been incredible. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for being on YG TV Roundtable. So thank you so much. And we're gonna keep this moving. So if you're trying to figure out your defining moment, definitely take what you had here, take down the notes, and really figure out what that looks like for you. But keep going, add value, and don't give up. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks again to Promise Bruce and Nick Nighbor for sharing their valuable insight and personal stories today. If you've enjoyed this episode or have an idea on a future episode, make sure to leave a comment below and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow the Young Guns on social media and listen to our shows wherever you can listen to podcasts. Thank you for tuning in today. Once again, I'm Jamar Jones with Forever Media, and until the next time.